Amore, amore, per te io canterò con il mio cuore, ti parlerà per me la mia canzone che ti dirà così: amore, amore, con te mi confiderò, tu che fai sognare, a te confessar potrò ciò che sento in cuor. Un giorno ti dirò.
The Italian bar, is this not one of the most beautiful experiences in Italy? This is something that I thought could be useful to all of you, because even the most advanced speaker in this context often freezes up, I find, because you think about it, if you're speaking with your taxi driver, or you're checking into your hotel or your apartment and you're speaking with the host, or even your waiter in a restaurant, you have that time and that person is looking you in the eye and is trying to understand what you're attempting to tell them. But when you go into a bar, and by bar I mean cafe, because a cafe is in Italian is bar. Just think of it like the word barista. It's like there's the word bar in that. So when you go in there, you have along the counter will be like usually a whole line of Italians eager to get their morning coffee, and so essentially you have an audience which can be quite intimidating. Also, the barista is so busy. It's not like a waiter who's just there to listen to you. He's trying to make 8 different types of coffee and listen to the person over at the casa. So you have to be fast, you have to be clear, you have to have brilliant pronunciation, and also you have to know what he's saying back to you, because oftentimes you'll ask for something and there might be some sort of modification. He can't do that, or they don't have soy milk or whatever. So I'm going to try and help you with all of the possible phrases that you could hear in an Italian bar when you're getting your coffee. Okay, let's start with buongiorno. This is the polite thing to say when you walk in. You don't say ciao because you're not on that level of intimacy with the people who work there. So the polite, formal greeting is buongiorno up until midday, and then you could just say salve or buonasera. Buonasera you can say if you're just even having a late afternoon coffee. You can, I know it feels like you're saying good evening, but you can still use that in the afternoon in Italy. Okay, let's start with what is, in my opinion, the best coffee and is the default coffee everywhere in Italy, is un caffè, which is an espresso. Okay, it's a short, black, quite strong coffee. Now, this word caffè, it means coffee. If you change it to 2 coffees, the word doesn't change. Okay, so un caffè, 2 caffè, the espresso. This is what I drink, like it short and black, no sugar, no milk, nothing else. Now this is the standard default coffee in Italy. So if you go into a bar and you ask for un caffè, they will often think, if they see that you're a foreigner, they will think, oh no, this poor person is confused, and so they will check with you and say un caffè normale, normale. So do you want you want a normal coffee? Now you won't hear the word espresso really. I mean, seldom do you hear the word espresso. They will just sort of confirm with you if you ask for un caffè by saying un caffè normale. Now, Un caffè normale is an espresso, but if you're looking for what in many places in the world is considered un caffè normale, is a caffè americano. Un caffè americano. Now, un caffè americano is a longer coffee in a big cup. It's like one shot of coffee with a lot more water. And so, look, if you're sitting down in a beautiful piazza, you may prefer to get un caffè americano because it lasts longer. Often if you're a foreigner, this is the first question they'll ask you. Normale, un caffè normale. I find words that are the same in English are the most poorly pronounced by Anglo-Saxons. For example, we will often think we know how to say cappuccino, but listen to how we say it. Cappuccino, kappa, almost as though there were an A after the P. Cappuccino, cappuccino, but it's capu, pu. Also, Anglo-Saxons, sometimes often myself included, forget about the staccato effect one must put on a word when there's a double letter like the double P in cappuccino. It's not cappuccino, it's cappuccino, cappuccino. Same with a double espresso, caffè doppio, doppio. Not doppio, not doppio, doppio, doppio. Hear that little P for the double letter, p, doppio. Cappuccino changes in the plural, un cappuccino, due cappuccini. Un caffè macchiato, okay, macchiato comes from the verb macchiare, okay, to stain. Un caffè macchiato is served in a small ceramic or glass cup and the espresso is being stained by a little milk or foam, which is called schiuma in Italian. So if you've ordered a caffè latte, this is a milk coffee, or you could say it is a cappuccino senza schiuma, without foam. Maybe you're visiting in winter and you would like una cioccolata calda. Cioccolata calda. Now, if you say cioccolato, you're talking about a bar of chocolate. If you say cioccolata, you're talking about the drink. So it's just best to make that distinction. And often when you order a hot chocolate, they will ask you if you want it con panna, panna, which is cream, con panna. If, however, you're visiting in summer, I would highly recommend ordering a caffè shakerato. Caffè shakerato. Now, a caffè shakerato is a coffee. It's cold and sweet and it's shaken over ice and it's delicious. So this is something you can find in most bars in Italy during the summer. I've heard many foreigners trying desperately to describe what they want, and something which might come in handy is to be able to say you want a big cup, in una tazza grande, in una tazza grande. Okay, so tazza, cup, grande, big, and croissants or cornetti are a big part of the Italian breakfast. And look, you will go up to the little cabinet that they have where they keep all the baked goods, and sometimes it's hard to work out what the fillings are. Now, the word for filling is ripieno, but the easiest way to ask what's inside is just to say cosa c'è dentro, or cosa c'è dentro i cornetti. Cosa c'è dentro i cornetti? Cosa c'è dentro i cornetti? Cosa c'è dentro i cornetti? Often the response you will hear will be quali, which ones? And then you will have to quickly give an indication of which baked good you are referring to. So you could say quelli, those, dietro, behind, quelli dietro, or davanti, in front, or in fondo, in fondo. And this is obviously accompanied by you frantically pointing at what you want. Questi for something that's close to you, these. Quelli for something that's far away from you, those. Questi, quelli, questi, quelli. When you ask for the filling, you will hear them rattle off the flavors very quickly, so be ready. Now, for just a plain croissant, you will hear vuoto, which means empty, or semplice. Then there will be cioccolato, chocolate, crema, is a very common one, and so that's pastry cream. Then there is marmalade, so you can have marmalade with fruits of the forest, marmellata ai frutti di bosco, marmellata di albicocche, apricot jam. Often these days you will find wholemeal or whole wheat croissants filled with honey, and this would be integrale al miele, or a vegan croissant, which is un cornetto vegano. Cornetto vegano. So you have your order in your head, you're memorizing it, you're feeling strong and confident. You go up to the barista and you say, vorrei, I would like, or prendo, I'll take. And all he does is wave you away and quite abruptly say, bisogna pagare prima alla cassa. Bisogna pagare prima alla cassa. And you're just, oh, what was that? And what he's telling you is that you have to pay first over at the cash register. And this is the way that most bars in Italy work. Sometimes if it's quiet or if it's a small little bar, they'll make it for you first and then you can pay afterwards. But in a very busy cafe, this is how the system works. So you have to line up first, pay at the little woman over in the corner with the cash register, and then take your receipt, which is scontrino, over to the barista and give that to him so that he can make your order. Often there will be a sign just behind the barista that says si prega di fare lo scontrino alla cassa prima della consumazione, grazie. And so this is why they get so frustrated, is because it says quite clearly that you have to go and pay first and bring back your scontrino, the little receipt. So when you go and queue up at the cash register, the woman will ask you where you intend to consume your coffee. Are you going to have it at the counter, standing up, like with a lot of the Italians, or are you going to take up a table? And the reason for this is that there is a different price in a lot of places. It costs a little bit more to sit down at a table, and often when you're sitting down at a table, there will be a waiter who will come to you and serve you. So I guess you're also paying for that service. But when you get to the cash register, she will ask you al banco, okay, at the counter, or al tavolo, at the table. Or a third option might be take away. Rarely, but sometimes they offer it. Da portare via, to take away. And then once you pay, you will often hear her say, tenga lo scontrino e lo faccio vedere al barista. Tenga lo scontrino, keep your receipt, and show it to the barista. Lo faccio vedere al barista. Then you go back to the barista and he's not sure if you've understood the system, so he might clarify with you and just check and say, ha già pagato, or avete già pagato? And this is just to say, have you already paid? Or have you, plural, already paid? And then he might also ask, avete lo scontrino? Avete lo scontrino? Ha lo scontrino? Do you have the receipt? Or it might be really busy or really quiet and you can't get anyone's attention, in which case, how would you say, excuse me, can we order? Do you know? Scusi, which is the polite, excuse me, possiamo, can we, ordinare, order. Or posso, can I, order, ordinare. Scusi, possiamo ordinare? Scusi, possiamo ordinare? Scusi, posso ordinare? Or if you're not sure if it's the barista, you might want to clarify, and a polite way to do this is just to ask if they're the ones you should speak to about ordering a coffee. And this would sound like, posso chiedere a lei per il caffè? Posso chiedere a lei per il caffè? Can I ask you, formal, for coffees? Okay, let's do a test. I'm the barista and you're coming up to me and you're going to ask for 2 cappuccinos, 1 espresso and 2 cornetti, 1 with chocolate and 1 with cream. What would that sound like? Start with vorrei or prendo. Yep. Yeah? Did you get it? How did you go?
Prendo 2 cappuccini, un caffè normale, un cornetto al cioccolato e un cornetto alla crema. Grazie.
Prendo 2 cappuccini, un caffè normale, un cornetto al cioccolato e un cornetto alla crema. Grazie. Vorrei 2 cappuccini, un caffè normale, un cornetto al cioccolato e un cornetto alla crema. Now, in Rome, they actually give you a complimentary little glass of water, of bottled water, either still or sparkling, with your coffee, just to help wash it down. They don't always do this in other parts of Italy, and sometimes they'll make you pay for it. But anyway, it's worth always asking, I think, because sometimes it's included for free. So for the advanced students, how would you say, could I have a glass of water, please? Okay, this would sound like potrei, that's the conditional, could I have, avere, un bicchiere d'acqua, potrei avere un bicchiere d'acqua per favore, potrei avere un bicchiere d'acqua per favore, potrei avere un bicchiere d'acqua per favore, un bicchiere di acqua, but it's often just shortened to d'acqua, like D apostrophe, d'acqua, un bicchiere d'acqua per favore, okay? So, o posso, potrei, posso avere un bicchiere d'acqua? Posso avere un bicchiere d'acqua per favore? And then you will hear them ask you if you want still or sparkling. This can sound two ways. One way would be liscia o gassata, or naturale o frizzante. Now, the barista might make your coffee, but there might be someone else who's looking after the baked goods. So after he takes your order for the coffee, he might then say, per I cornetti, for the croissants, bisogna chiedere, you need to ask, alla ragazza, the girl, or alla signora, the woman, al ragazzo, at the boy. Okay, you've decided perhaps to eat your cornetti at the counter, and you've just got like marmalade all down your chin, or your companion has made quite a mess, and perhaps you're searching for a napkin. You might be looking around and they might say to you, oh, do you need something else? The advanced students, how would that sound? Do you need something else?
Serve qualcosa? Ha bisogno di qualcos'altro?
Serve qualcosa? Do you need something? Ha bisogno di qualcos'altro? Ha bisogno di qualcos'altro? Ha bisogno di qualcos'altro? Ha bisogno, do you have need? Di, of, qualcos'altro. This is abbreviated, so it comes from the word qualcosa, something, altro, other. Ha bisogno di qualcos'altro? In this case, you might like to go into the past and you might like to say, I was looking for a napkin. Cercavo. Not cerco. You could say cerco, but this is the present, to look for. Cercavo. I was looking for. Cercavo un tovagliolo. Lo. Note that while in English we could only use the past progressive, I was looking, stavo cercando, in Italian you can use the imperfect tense to describe this same action that was happening just seconds ago. I was looking, cercavo. Another question you probably want to ask in a bar in the morning is to use the toilet. And what would this sound like? Can I use the toilet, the bathroom? Posso usare il bagno? It's quite simple. Posso, can I, usare, use, il bagno, the bathroom. Usually in a bar, they have this lot because they're quite wary of tourists who are just coming through and wanting to just use a toilet without actually buying anything. So you might hear, ci vuole la chiave, or bisogna prendere la chiave.
Ci vuole la chiave, bisogna prendere la chiave. Chieda alla cassa.
They will ask you to go and ask at the cash register, and that will sound like chieda alla cassa. Or if they're colloquial, chiedi alla cassa. Ora è occupato. Okay, now it is occupied. Then you go back to the woman at the cash register and you ask, can I take or get the key for the bathroom? How would that sound? Can I get the key for the bathroom? Posso prendere la chiave per il bagno. After you've had your coffee, you might decide, oh, you know what, we actually need a bottle of water because we're going to be walking around all day. Now, this would sound like una bottiglia di acqua. Una bottiglia di acqua. And they will always ask you still or sparkling, and usually the woman behind the counter will just indicate that you should get it out yourself from the fridge. And this, how would it sound? You can take it directly from the fridge. La puoi o la può prendere dal frigo. La può prendere dal frigo. La puoi prendere direttamente dal frigo.
La puoi prendere direttamente dal frigo.
If you're like me and you do like your vegetable juices, fortunately in Italy now they are doing this quite often in a lot of bars around the country, and so the word for fruit or vegetable juice is centrifuga. The distinction here is quite important because this conversation I've heard go on with foreigners in a barista not understanding each other. So this is how it sounds, right? So first you want to ask fate centrifughe, because singular is centrifuga and plural centrifughe. Fate is the plural. Do you guys do juices? Fate centrifughe. Often what you might hear is, no, we don't do that, but we have like packaged juice, juice in a bottle or in a carton, and this might sound like,
No, abbiamo il succo di arancia e il succo di pesca.
abbiamo il succo di arancia, abbiamo il succo di pesca, succo. Succo is like full of sugar, and so you're like, no, that's not exactly what I was after. But they might say that they do una spremuta d'arancia, una spremuta d'arancia, and this is a freshly squeezed orange juice. But there's so much sugar even in orange juice, so normally I'm just like, okay, thank you. You might want to ask about milk, and you might want to ask if they have soy milk, and how would you say, do you guys have soy milk? Avete il latte di soia? Avete il latte di soia? You might not be able to have dairy or gluten, so in this case, a phrase that could be useful is sono, whether you're a male or female, sono intollerante al, sono intollerante al, and then you can put in whatever you want. Perhaps you're a tea drinker, perhaps you're going in the afternoon and you'd like a nice tea. If you're going for an infusion or a herbal tea, usually not caffeinated, it's una tisana, but a normal black tea is un tè. Una tisana, un tè. When you order tea in Italy, they'll usually ask you if you would like some honey with it. So this would sound like vuole del miele. Vuole del miele. Del, if you put del in front of something, it means some honey. So il miele, del miele. Would you like some honey? Vuole del miele? Or vuoi del miele? Vuole del miele? Vuoi del miele? Now, if you've been at a table, perhaps the waiter hasn't come to you and you just want to go up to the cash register and you need to go. You're in a rush and these Italians are taking so long. So you're going to the cash register, to the counter where you pay, and you would want to say, I have to pay, or I would like to pay. Devo pagare, I have to. Devo pagare, I have to pay. Or vorrei pagare, I would like to pay. Vorrei pagare. When you say this, you will usually hear cosa avete preso? Cosa avete preso? Cosa avete? You guys, what did you guys? Preso, what did you guys take? What did you guys get, basically? Or they might ask, where were you sitting? Where were you guys sitting? Advanced students, how would you say that? Where were you guys sitting?
Dove eravate seduti?
Dove eravate seduti? Dove eravate seduti? Dove eravate seduti? Dove eravate? This is the past for you guys, the plural. Dove eravate seduti? Okay, or for singular. Dove era seduto if you are a male. if she is speaking to you and you are a male, or if she is speaking to you and you are a female, dove era seduta. Seduta. So the era comes from essere and it's the past. So it's like where you were sitting. And then the sitting is the seduto or the seduta. Perhaps it's a beautiful day and you'd like to sit outside, but you want to make sure that someone's going to come out to you, or that it's possible even because you're just getting coffee, you're not ordering a whole meal. In that case, how would you say, can we sit outside? Can we sit outside? Possiamo? Can we? Sederci? Sederci? Fuori. Now, sedersi is the verb, and then we put ci because it's us. Sederci, fuori, outside. Or for the singular, posso, can I, sedermi, fuori, can I sit outside? And usually they'll just sort of wave you out and say, sì.
Arriva il cameriere a prendere l'ordinazione al tavolo.
Sì, arriva il cameriere a prendere l'ordinazione al tavolo. Sì, arriva il cameriere. The waiter will come to you. You might hear terrible news. I cornetti sono finiti. I cornetti sono finiti, okay? The croissants have finished. They are over. Or these days, you're also likely to hear, signora, signore, bisogna mettere la mascherina. Bisogna mettere la mascherina. Bisogna mettere la mascherina. Okay, you have to put your mask on because if you're in a bar, you have to be wearing a mask. Unless you're literally sipping your coffee, but while you're ordering, you have to have the mask on.
Signora, bisogna mettere la mascherina.
Signora, signore, il bagno è solo per I clienti. The bathroom is only for customers. I usually like to ask, just so that there's no confusion and they don't think I'm just trying to use their toilet without consuming anything. So I will say, posso usare il bagno prima di ordinare? Posso usare il bagno prima di ordinare? Posso usare il bagno prima di ordinare? Okay, so I'll put in two little sort of challenges for the advanced students. How would you say, let's go and have breakfast at the cafe before the croissants run out? Go. And the answer is, andiamo a fare colazione al bar prima che finiscano I cornetti. Andiamo a fare colazione al bar prima che finiscano I cornetti. If you're an advanced student, you will have heard of the congiuntivo. Now, the congiuntivo happens when something is uncertain. It's not exactly fact. You're talking often about a hypothetical. So you're talking about before the croissants run out. So they haven't actually run out. So there is sort of uncertainty, and therefore we need the congiuntivo. So normally you would say I cornetti finiscono, cono, ono. The croissants finish or run out. But we are talking in the uncertain hypothetical case in which, drama of all dramas, the cornetti run out, but they haven't run out right now. We're just talking about that hypothetical, in which case finiscono changes to finiscano, finiscano. Prima che I cornetti finiscono. And it's just a little thing, but you might as well learn how to speak properly. Italians will certainly appreciate it. As you know, I often like to make friends with my local cafe or patisserie, and so I will ask them if I'm on holiday somewhere, like I was when I was in Sicily. I did this just the other month. I just asked them to put aside cornetti for me, or sfogliatelle, which are delicious, which is worth learning this phrase for because generally the really good baked sweets run out very early in the morning because the locals will all get there. So you might like to ask them to put aside for you your favorite baked good, your croissant or whatever, your sfogliatella. So how would you say, seeing as your croissants are so good and run out early, tomorrow morning could you guys please put 2 aside for us just in case we arrive late? Oh my goodness, such a hard phrase. Okay, don't get overwhelmed. Just look for the words that are familiar. So probably, croissants. Okay, cornetti because it's plural. Cornetto singular, cornetti plural. Your croissants. Okay, so your as in the plural voi. So i vostri cornetti. You probably know the word good, or you've probably heard it before. Buono. Okay, buono. But in this case, we have multiple croissants, so we change buono to buoni, buoni. Run out, we just did before, which is finiscono, finiscono, run out in the plural. Early, you might have seen, presto, presto. Next, tomorrow, you definitely have heard of tomorrow, I'm sure. Domani, domani. And mattina, the morning, mattina. Please, that's another word you're probably familiar with. Per favore, per favore, per favore. And then let's go down to the next word or the last word that you probably have heard of is late. Tardi, tardi. Okay, let's hear the full phrase now. Visto che i vostri cornetti sono così buoni e finiscono presto, domani mattina potreste, per favore, mettercene 2 da parte nel caso arrivassimo tardi. Visto che i vostri cornetti sono così buoni e finiscono presto, domani mattina potreste, per favore, mettercene 2 da parte nel caso arrivassimo tardi? Oh, such a hard phrase, but let's break it down. I'm sure you can do this. Okay, so seeing as your croissants are so good, visto che, okay, visto che, seeing as, visto che, potreste is the plural conditional, okay, potreste, could you guys, mettercene 2, mettercene 2. So this is, mettere is to put. Okay, the c'è is for us, the ne is of them, and the due is to. So it's all sort of mixed up, but it's saying to put 2 of them for us. Bit hard. Da parte, aside. Nel caso, in the case, arrivassimo, which is the congiuntivo imperfetto, arrivassimo, in the hypothetical case that we were to arrive late, tardi. Don't worry.
Visto che i vostri cornetti sono così buoni e finiscono presto, domani mattina potreste per favore mettercene 2 da parte nel caso arrivassimo tardi?
Okay, you ready? You can do this. I believe in you. It's just break it down. It's like everything in life. You just break it down. Don't think about the whole phrase. Just think about it in the little pieces. Visto che i vostri cornetti sono così buoni e finiscono presto, domani mattina potreste, per favore, mettercene 2 da parte nel caso arrivassimo tardi? Visto che i vostri cornetti sono così buoni e finiscono presto, domani mattina potreste, per favore, mettercene 2 da parte nel caso arrivassimo tardi? Visto che i vostri cornetti sono così buoni e finiscono presto, domani mattina potreste, per favore, mettercene 2 da parte nel caso arrivassimo tardi. I know it sounds overwhelming, but just take it one day at a time. And remember, even when you're confused, you're still taking on information. I remember repeating phrases I couldn't understand at all, but if you don't get impatient and just let the words wash over you, repeat the phrases with me, I promise one day it will all click together and you'll realize how much has actually been absorbed by your brain, even when you felt like nothing was going in. In this particular episode, I've left those pauses for you to try and have a guess at what the phrase might be, because this is important. Often when you're learning at home and you're not living in the country, you are very passive because everything is given to you. You just sit with a teacher or sit with an audiobook and you hear the answer. But it's important to hazard a guess, to make an attempt, because this is what will happen in real life when you're in Italy, you're at the bar,
bar and you don't have the answer, you have to throw yourself in and try to start speaking. This is the most important thing. I got myself to a fairly intermediate level of Italian before I ever lived in the country, so you can do it too, and I hope that this has been, somewhat helpful.
And then they will say, ma certo, of course, we're so glad that you want to come back and be fedele, be loyal to our cafe. And then you can say, thank you, you're so kind, which would be for a male, grazie, gentilissimo, to the male if you're speaking to a male, or grazie, gentilissima, if you're speaking to a female. And then you're just so exhausted from trying to perfect your grammar and understand everything that you need to go and have another coffee. But it's just so exciting when you actually manage to succeed at that whole transaction. You get the coffee you want and you get the filling you want, and it's a great way to then make new friends, or at least have a little bit of a chat with the people at the bar while they're having their coffee. I was thinking of doing a video actually on all the little polite things that you can say in Italy to basically make someone forgive your poor Italian, or just to be respectful, because I feel like today, I don't know, people underestimate the power of good manners and being courteous and being kind. And I often get asked, how did you end up in that situation? How did you end up being invited into that family's home? Or how did you end up getting that discount? And I truly think most of it's because of manners, and that's how my parents have the same response from people in France and in Spain, and I just think people appreciate manners, and it's a way when you're a foreigner, when you don't necessarily have language in common. It's a great way to say I come in peace. I respect who you are. I respect where I am. There's this book I once read called The Importance of Manners, and I think the world needs to read that book right now, because it just people underestimate how your day can completely change with a little please, thank you, and forgive me, sorry, excuse me. Do you agree? Do you believe in manners? Or do you believe that manners are just formalities? Well, I hope this was useful. I hope you get the coffee you wanted. And just remember, for those of you who had your vacation, your holiday cancelled, this is extra time to get really, really good at your Italian. Do give it a little thumbs up and do subscribe, and I don't know, do just have hope. I know what it feels like to feel totally overwhelmed by a language. I felt like that too, and I don't feel like it anymore. I wish you a beautiful weekend, and I actually today was just in a field picking olives for hours, so quite different from the lovely elegant bar in Piazza della Repubblica in Florence, but that's what's coming up next, is a harvest episode. Okay.
Un giorno ti dirò, amore, amore.